Welcome to the Industrialization and Localization Expert Channel. I'm your host, Collen Mootane, and today we are bringing a special feature of the property market. Our special guest is Mr. Collen Mootane. He is a chemical engineer by profession, and also he is an investor. His portfolio includes investments in the property market, which includes the student accommodation, which is his primary market. I am going to welcome Mr. Mootane, who's also the top 6 finalist of the Absa City Press Money Makeover competition, which ended last week. Mr. Mootane, welcome to the IEL platform.
Thanks, Marco. Thanks for hosting me, and I'm looking forward to this.
We have a pleasure to host you. We know it has been a intriguing 6 months for you on the Absa City Press Money Makeover competition. Can you please share with our viewers what were the main things that you learned through that process?
Marco, that program is a very, very powerful program that I can recommend to anyone, anytime. Anyone aspiring to improve their financial status, that is the program they can follow. Since I started with the program in the past 6 months, we started in January, I've managed to achieve a lot. I'm talking about things like I paid off a whole lot of debt that I had, and just to give you an example, I managed to pay off a debt of about 135,000 in the last 6 months. But when the Money Makeover completed, the total debt that I had finished was, or I have paid off, was around 50,000 rand. And in the past week, I managed to pay off another debt, which was a loan that I had, and it was a very costly loan. It was something that I considered as a bad debt. So it was 85,000. I managed to pay off that 85,000 rand. And so the total debt that I have managed to pay brings me to 125,000 rand in the past 6 months. And also with the help of the financial advisor, once you start with that program, they allocate a financial advisor to you. And with the assistance of my financial advisor, I managed to build control measures on my asset protection. So my assets are now protected, unlike before. And I learned a lot to differentiate between the good debt and bad debt. That is, hence I'm saying that I managed to pay off 35,000 in the past week, which I considered as a bad debt. So now that it's off my shoulder, I think there are good things to come. I can utilize that installment to a good use. And I also learn how a good property portfolio should look like. In the beginning, my property portfolio, yes, I had a few properties, but the portfolio was not well structured. So I learned a lot on how to have a well structured property portfolio. And yeah, most of us, when we start in this property market, we make huge mistakes, which are very, very costly to correct. And because we start this journey without proper information, without proper researching of what we are putting ourselves into.
Exactly, which was going to be my next question, to say, from chemical engineering, you still have your day-to-day job, and what actually attracted you to go invest in a totally different sector that you didn't even go to study for?
Okay. Sometime I think it was in around 2010, 2011. I enrolled in a course called it was a master's degree in engineering management and with the University of Pretoria. So that also uh, gave me an idea, or it actually pushed me into studying something that we in nowadays terms we call it a side hustle. So that engineering management really paved a way for me to look abroad in as far as not to only concentrate on my career, but to look at what else can I do in life. There are so many things that you can do in life. So during that course, I specialized in service management. I did engineering management, but specializing in service management. And immediately after completing it, I decided to put what I've learned into practice. And that's when now I saw an opportunity in student accommodation. And uh, I spoke to one colleague of mine, and that's when we acquired our first student property. It was a joint venture. The first property, it was a joint venture with a colleague of mine, whereby we bought a student property and also tried to utilize our knowledge, our background knowledge into running that student property. So it was like in line with what I've studied. Like I said, I did engineering management, but I was specializing in service. And so in this case, I was rendering service, accommodation service to students. And yeah, that's what attracted me to this.
No, that's quite inspirational. But obviously, now there's quite a lot of challenges around the globe, especially the property market and rental, which has been hit hard by the current pandemic. I guess you have to actually sit down and revise your, business strategies and plans. With most students not returning with the as well. So, how are you guys thinking around the current scenario where we have pandemic that is hitting the businesses?
Okay, maybe before I got to that point is since we acquired our first student accommodation, I also went solo and acquired few properties and still within this student accommodation, but other properties is like I'm renting out to working class, you know. But coming back to your question with regard to the COVID-19, it has actually blown this sector out of comfort zone. You know, in the past we used to know that every month uh, people will oblige to their contracts and pay their monthly rent. But now there are so many challenges, and most of our tenants, especially on the student side, most of them are not working. They're depending on parents, and as you know that the country has been on lockdown, and most of the businesses has closed, and meaning some of the parents has lost their jobs, and it actually also affects you in a way that those parents are now unable to pay for 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 the rents of for their students. And now as a property owner, you have to now look at your strategies, start try to change direction, you know. So what we did, me and my partner, as well as on my other individual properties, what we decided to do was to at least reduce the monthly rent, maybe with around say uh, between 50% and 70%. I mean, between 50% and 30%, depending on the area where the property is, but making sure that you don't run into losses while reducing the monthly rate. So that's the strategy that we have applied. It is working somewhere, and even though there are some challenges, but that strategy seems to be working. People are paid because now they are no longer paying the full amount. Some are paying 50%, some are paying around 70%, like I said.
Okay, no, that's quite good to hear that already you had to make several decisions, there and then to make sure that you still retain your tenants in the market and you're still able to, have some sort of cash flow, even though it hits on your books. But that's quite
Yeah.
inspiring. And you call yourself an aspiring property baron. So maybe you can just unpack for us what that implies, because I see it, you being this man who have a bigger vision. And if you can share with our viewers where you see yourself moving in the property market.
The property market, Mr. Lope, it's very, very interesting. When I joined this business, I never thought that I will be learning a lot while making money at the same time. It's one thing that I can assure you that if you run it properly, you will create some money for yourself. It will be like a second income to you. So that term property baron was actually used in the City Press Money Makeover after I told them about my aspiration and my journey into this property market. So it was a very interesting term they decided to use. I'm enjoying myself, and the future looks good. Not only planning on student accommodation, but my long-term plan also includes like getting into apartments that I can rent out to the working class, and then eventually maybe I can also go into agricultural business, whereby maybe I can acquire a property in terms of a farm and start doing something there. But obviously I have to do well in this student accommodation, as well as apartment renting for the working class, so that it can generate money for me to look at the long-term goals.
Yeah, no, that is quite exciting. Like you also mentioned, I was following the proceedings last week throughout the finalist, the whole program, and you were asked the question, and you indicated your other move, which is to go into cattle farming. So that is quite an inspiring thing to hear, that you also venturing into other areas where you want to grow your portfolio. I know you as well as an investor, where you also share quite a lot with regard to how to acquire shares, which portfolios to look for. If you can also maybe just expand to our viewers in terms of your investment portfolio, as well as the new venture that you want to enter into for cattle farming.
Mr. Lope, you know what? Life is interesting. You cannot just concentrate on one thing. There are a whole lot of things that you can look at, but never lose focus on your main goal. So my main goal is in property investment, but while also doing some work in property investment, I'm getting some money out of that, and that money, instead of using it to buy a whole lot of liabilities, I decided to use that money to buy shares in the stock exchange, and that also became my other income. So if you look at things now, my income is like the salary that I'm getting, and then the rent that I'm getting out of property renting business, as well as generating money through buying and selling shares. That is share trading. So, so that's why I'm saying life is interesting. So it's up to an individual to decide what they want to do with their lives. And I've decided to invest in different portfolios with uh, the money that I'm getting. And it's very interesting.
Wow. Yeah. You remain an inspiration to most of us. And I believe that our viewers will have loved this engagement. And my other question is how now do you advise, the aspiring, especially the young generation who wants to, invest, be it in property or just stock market shares and other business ventures. We call it hustling as well. So if you were to advise anyone out there viewing this interview, what would that be?
First of all, I'll say to the people out there, please stay away from bad debt. And you can only stay away from bad debt once you know the difference between the bad debt and the good debt. I know it's difficult to stay away completely out of bad debt, but maybe the perfect or maybe the good way will be minimize the bad debt. When I'm talking about the bad debt, I'm talking about uh, things that are taking money out of your pocket. You know, I'm talking about those liabilities that are taking money out of your pocket. Instead of investing in liabilities, try to invest in asset. Asset are those items that are bringing in money into your pocket. That is, they become some sort of another source of income to you. So that's that's the main advice that I can give. And also try not to invest in something that you don't understand. If something looks too good to be true, then it is how it is. Stay away from those kind of things. Invest in something that you truly understand and whereby you can make well informed decision when it comes to your investment. And that's basically what I can say. And also the foundation when trying to invest, please make sure that your foundation is a well-laid foundation, that you understand the pros and cons of what you're getting yourself into, and maybe trying getting back into the property investment. If you don't do your homework in getting into that kind of a business, you will end up burning your fingers. You will make initial mistakes that will be so costly to rectify as time goes along. And those mistakes are mistakes that you will really have to correct. You can't live with those, but it will be costly for you to rectify. I also made those mistakes, and during this money makeover challenge run by the City Press and Absa, I realized my mistakes, and I'm currently busy trying to fix those mistakes so that going forward I can run a smooth property portfolio. So that's the advice that I can give to aspiring property investors out there.
Absolutely. And thanks for sharing some of the blind spots, which people often overlook. And I believe these are insights that will educate our viewers and some out there. And we can learn quite a lot from the likes of yourselves. And the other question that I have for you is how do you now balance family, work, life? You have children, you've got a spouse, you've got a day-to-day job, you're running all these businesses, and how do you find a balance in this?
No, you know what? I'm like you say, I'm a full-time employee, and when I'm at work, I concentrate only on those issues that are related to my employer. And once I knock off, it's time for family, and there maybe I can jingle around with my businesses that need my attention. But I make sure that also family time it's well. I do spend time with the family. I don't push it aside or ignore it. I think that's the most important one. And then the business, I call it a side hustle. So it comes second from family. It's just a side hustle. So I do allocate time for it, but it's not on a full-time basis. It's there. Even though sometimes it forces me to go to bed early hours of the morning, but the first point of departure is I need to take care of the family and also having to dedicate my time with my employer strictly for that.
Yeah.
Weekends, I do go out with the family. I do things with the family, but maybe there and there I can also look at what the business requires, and then only when it required my immediate attention, then it move away from that time that I have with the family, and then look at the business. But the other important thing is while doing the side hustle, it's very important to have a power team. That's something that what they call a power team or mastermind team. I'll just elaborate further on this. It's like I have people that I can call. If, say, for instance, water leakage in one of the property, I know I've got a plumber, I've got the electrician, I've got the property agent, I've got the attorney, I've got the financial advisor. So those are the people that are forming part of my power team, and it helps a lot in that way that I can actually spend time with my family without worrying about so many things that are required by this property business. If, say, for instance, there is a water leak or electricity problem, I don't just drive there. I just take a phone and then let the electrician or the plumber know about the problem. They go fix the problem and they let me know if the problem has been sorted out. And the next thing I pay them, and or if I've got time, I'll make a turn there to see what the problem was, and as to whether it was perfectly fixed. But that power team that I have created is actually helping me to run my side hustle. So that's why I'm not like dedicating too much time into that. I've got people who are taking care of things. So
Wow.
it's very important to have a power team or a mastermind team. And those are the things that I've learned also out of this Absa City Press Money Makeover, that I need to have my own power team, and also reading some few books. They speak a lot about the power team. If you not gonna have a power team and try to do things on your own, you never have that thorough knowledge in all the environment that need or are attached to the business. If there is something that some contracts that need to be sorted out, I've got an attorney that will look at those things. I just inform them that I've got a problem with the contractors, please sort them out and let me know once they have been sorted out. And I will only pay them once they have done those things for me.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I balance my day-to-day work, my family life, as well as my side hustle time. It works fine for me.
Okay, no, that's powerful. It's one of the powerful messages that I ever got. And I believe people out there who are hustling or running their own businesses, whether they're still keeping their day to day work or not, but the power team is the backbone for their success.
You can't go wrong with the power team. I mean, most of my properties are scattered all over 3 provinces, so I cannot be in 3 provinces at the same time. So that's why now the power team comes handy for me.
No, that's great. I have to mention this. You are an employee, but you are also an employer. And your generosity that I picked up during the Money Makeover when the Absa City Press gave you guys, a token during COVID-19, which you actually passed it to one of your property managers. So that was being, showing goodwill from a manager, a boss, to one of your staff members. And if you can just share with us what made you, think of her first.
Mr. Delope, when it came to that point where it was a sort of an incentive. When we got those incentives, it was that time when we went into lockdown for the first time, and it was nobody had went through that thing before, and it affected us negatively, especially in the property renting business. It affected us negatively, and during that time also, my salary was cut, and cash flow was really affected negatively. So that incentive came handy to me, and then one of the things that I decided that I will use it for was to pay my caretaker salary out of that money that they give us as an incentive. And the rest I also paid for school fees, because now also during this lockdown, most of the teachers at our school are being paid through the school fees money, and if parents didn't pay their school fees, so it was going to affect on the salary side of those teachers. So it's like a network of many items. If you don't pay, it means I won't be able to pay Mr. Lilope. Mr. Lilope won't be able to pay so and so. So that's why I decided, okay, instead of taking this money and investing it, let me rather pay my employees as required, and then they can also go along with their own lives.
Okay, Mr. Mootane, you will remain an inspiration to many aspiring property barons out there, and keep on doing what you are doing out there. I wish you all the best in growing your different portfolios and venturing into all these other new spaces, which I believe they will, keep you on your toes. And lastly, because you inspired others, my question is, who is your inspiration out there that you look up to say, this is the person who gives me the inspiration to want to persevere and do more?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question, Mr. Lilope. And my inspiration of the person that I'm looking up to is, there is this guy called Robert Kiyosaki. This is the guy who wrote the famous book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've read a whole lot of his books, and I've taken his lessons and I'm applying them on my daily life. He's also a property investor, and I'm learning a lot out of his writings as well. And that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, I can also recommend it to anybody who would like to get into investment, either property or any kind of investment. Just go through that book, read that book, and it will give you a whole lot of information. I can bet you'll never be the same after reading that book. You will realize a whole lot of things that you thought were working in a certain way, but in fact they are not working in the way you thought they are. So that's the guy that gives me inspiration, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. Just Google him.
Robert Kiyosaki, guys, is the inspiration to our special guest, Mr. Collen Mootane. Thank you very much for being with us, and to all our viewers, followers, subscribers, and anyone out there who knows about ISLE, we say continue watching our channel as we continue to share with you most of these insights that will be able to empower you in whatever journey that you are following or pursuing or want to pursue in the near future. And we say, keep tuned till we see you again. Thank you.